Although methods-based instruction has been in vogue for over a century, it is becoming apparent that the language teaching methods established by theorists of the past fail to take into account the everyday realities of the classroom. For much of the course of language teaching history, teachers worked with fairly homogeneous groups of learners, both in terms of cultural background and educational abilities, and their job was teach a second language. Period. Today's teachers, however, are required to teach a second language while also caring for students with a wide array of educational, emotional, and psychological needs. Recent discussions regarding ELT acknowledge the importance of including teachers' voices in critical discourse because, as Diane Larson Freeman explains, teachers confront the complexity of language, learning, and language learners every day of their working lives in a more direct fashion than any theorist does. This experience reinforces in teachers the conviction that no single perspective on language, no single explanation for learning, and no unitary view of the contributions of language learners will account for what they must grapple with on a daily basis. Modern language teachers understand the importance of deviating from a prescribed method in order to implement the classroom processes and procedures that work best for their particular group of students. Guided by what Prabhu has termed a sense of plausibility, or an innate sense of what works in the classroom, teachers have become more confident in selecting the elements of various methods that will be most beneficial for their students. We use the term eclecticism to describe this practical classroom solution. While eclecticism has solved many of the issues facing today's language teachers, giving them flexibility to differentiate, accommodate, and honor their students' pedagogy of particularity, concerns about its validity persist. Kumaravadivulu cautions language teachers against diving headfirst into the waters of eclecticism without sufficient thought and preparation. He writes that, in spite of their best intentions, eclecticism in the classroom invariably degenerates into an unsystematic, unprincipled, and uncritical pedagogy. He explains that this occurs because teachers with very little professional preparation to be eclectic in a principled way have little option but to randomly put together a package of techniques from various methods and label it eclectic. The words chosen by Kumaravadivulu in this quote, degenerate, unsystematic, unprincipled, uncritical, random, in no way paint a positive picture of classroom practice. What then should teachers passionate about meeting their students' needs do? The answer is simple. Teachers who wish to deviate from an established method can still apply the concept of eclecticism as long as it is principled or informed. Understanding one's personal approach is key. An educator's fundamental beliefs about language and language learning should be the motivating factor for every classroom decision. It is critical that the teacher takes the time to reflect on and establish his or her beliefs about teaching. Only then will a teacher be prepared to employ principled eclecticism, as opposed to the unsystematic, unprincipled, and uncritical eclecticism of Kumaravadivulu's nightmares. J. Dean Mello defines principled eclecticism as a desirable, coherent, pluralistic approach to language teaching, which can accommodate the needs of a group of learners in a flexible and natural way. Principled eclecticism means that teachers carefully consider which materials, techniques, and strategies they will use in their classroom. While the activities may be motivated by different underlying theoretical approaches, the teacher must ensure that none of them are contradictory or irreconcilable. Whereas remaining true to a single theory of language and language learning can lead to mechanistic and inflexible instruction, employing principled eclecticism can support teachers in facilitating a less rigid and more adaptable type of instruction. As educational principles and practices continue to evolve, teachers must be prepared to become more flexible and more accommodating in their teaching. Rather than staying true to one theory of language or language learning, today's language teachers must see the appeal of principled eclecticism as a valid method for moving forward. Offering the freedom of flexibility while still maintaining sound theoretical underpinnings, principled eclecticism is an ideal solution for meeting the needs of our diverse and unique groups of learners.